You folks are really lucky today because, as I said, I've done many of these, and this is a tremendous group, probably the largest group that I think we've ever had, right, in a long time. And the time has arrived. The induction of the 11th class of Space Shuttle astronauts into the United States Astronaut Hall of Fame. They will be introduced in the order in which they flew into space. Our first inductee is Dr. Franklin Chang Díaz. During his 25 years in the astronaut program, Franklin Chang Díaz became one of only 2 astronauts to fly on 7 space shuttle missions: STS-61C, STS-34, STS-46, STS-60, STS-75, STS-91, and STS-111. Did I leave any out, Franklin? He has logged more than 1,601 hours in space, a total that includes 19 hours and 31 minutes accumulated during 3 spacewalks. His missions into space included numerous scientific experiments and achievements, as well as the deployment of numerous satellites. As part of the crew of STS-34 Atlantis, he took part in the successful deployment of the Galileo spacecraft on its journey to explore Jupiter. He has mapped atmospheric ozone levels, researched on the effects of microgravity on plants, and flew on the first joint U.S.-Russian space shuttle mission on which a Russian cosmonaut was a crew member. On his final mission, STS-111, he installed the mobile-based system on the International Space Station, and he replaced the failed wrist joint on the Canada-2 arm. Chang Díaz retired from NASA in July of 2005 and then founded Ad Astra Rocket Company, which is dedicated to the development of advanced plasma rocket propulsion technology. Ad Astra's efforts have led to the production of a rocket that has the theoretical, Franklin tells me it's more than theoretical, capability of carrying a manned mission to Mars in just 39 days. Let's take a look at a few video highlights from his career.
Franklin, you are now go to remove the NBS thermal blankets.
Okay, thanks. Really excited to be here. It's only my first flight. I'm really looking forward to it.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We have liftoff of Columbia, mission 61C, and the shuttle has cleared the tower. Roger, roll, Columbia.
You can see the deploy now.
That's a nice, pretty picture, Franklin. Thank you.
1, and liftoff of the Space Shuttle Atlantis on a mission for new utility in space.
1, ignition and liftoff of Discovery on a whole new era of space flight between the United States and Russia.
Columbia, continuing space research through tethered satellite technology. the Space Shuttle Discovery advances and embarks on the final mission to dock at Russia's space station Mir. And liftoff of the Space Shuttle Endeavour, extending our reach while expanding our research in space.
This is a good view from Franklin Chang Díaz, his helmet camera looking past the debris shield.
Ladies and gentlemen. Hello. Ladies and gentlemen, astronaut Franklin Chang Díaz. To present Franklin Chang Díaz for induction into the United States Astronaut Hall of Fame, please welcome Hall of Fame astronaut George Pinky Nelson.
Franklin and Peggy. So it's an honor to do this, Franklin. Franklin was the first Latin American to fly in space. He was, see, he was born in Costa Rica, and just like kids all over the world, Franklin wanted to be an astronaut when he grew up. He followed the early space missions on the radio in Costa Rica. Didn't speak English, but he knew the names of the early astronauts. He knew Al Shepard, John Young, and all you guys. But there was one astronaut he could never figure out who was on, seemed like every mission. There was this astronaut named Roger that they kept talking about. Did you ever get to meet him? Yeah, good. In 1967, Franklin wrote a letter to Wernher von Braun. I said, what do I need to do to be an astronaut? And von Braun didn't answer, but he did get an answer back from someone at the Marshall Space Flight Center. And there was actually an underlined part of the letter that said, well, one of the things you need to be is a U.S. citizen. And not to be deterred, after he graduated from high school, Franklin left Costa Rica and came to the United States to be an astronaut. Didn't speak English, so he went to high school for a year and and learned to speak English. Then he went on to college, got a degree in mechanical engineering, and on to MIT. And when it's an auspicious beginning when he came to the United States, like I said, he didn't speak English, and I don't know how long it was, Franklin, but it was some significant period of time when Franklin survived on coffee donut, which was the only English phrase he knew. But he did learn English, and he learned engineering, and he went to MIT, and he learned plasma physics, and he learned to fly, and he became a United States citizen. And in 1980, he became an astronaut candidate, which is an absolutely remarkable thing for a kid from Costa Rica to pretty much will himself to do, right? So he moved to Houston. He married Peggy. His first flight was STS-61C, and I owe Franklin from that flight. He actually saved me from a life of drug abuse. We had 5 launch attempts on that mission, and after one of the early launch attempts, Franklin came up to me, and I had been taking, almost from superstition, we used to take this medication called Scopedex. It was a little half a pill of scopolamine and half a pill of dextrine. So one was an upper and one was a downer. And the rumor was that it would keep you from getting space sick. And after, I think it was the second launch attempt, Franklin came up and put his hand on my shoulder and said, "Pinky, I don't think you should take Scopedex anymore. It makes you really weird." And I kicked it. Never took it again. So over 12 years, Franklin flew 7 times. Franklin was probably the most comfortable astronaut I've known. He just seemed to fit in whatever was going on around there. But I think just as importantly and uniquely in the astronaut office, Franklin came in as a scientist and an engineer, and he worked really hard to maintain that status while he was being assigned to flights and working on missions. He used to carry around a notebook where he would solve the Maxwell's equations and the Navier-Stokes equations, and I remember looking at it one day. Actually, Charlie Bolden showed it to me. At the top of the page, it said something like, "I will now show that we can build the nozzle," and it was followed by all of these equations. And so he continued to push the envelope, and after he left NASA, Franklin has continued to push the envelope at his company at Astra, and he's got an engine that runs. I mean, it's hard enough to solve Maxwell's equations and the Navier-Stokes equations together, right? But to actually build a machine that solves those equations in the way you want and produces thrust out the back end is an amazing thing. And as he says, he thinks he can get us to Mars in 39 days if we work at it. So, Franklin, we can only hope the country has the vision and the courage to pursue these kind of goals. And you've done incredible things, but I really believe that your biggest impact is yet to come. So I can't imagine the U.S. Astronaut Hall of Fame without Franklin Chang in it. So welcome aboard, Franklin.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you all. I don't have words prepared, but I will speak from the heart. I'm a product of 2 cultures, and this honor here has a special meaning to me because it's given by those who have always been my heroes. And these folks here are the people that I looked up to since I was very young. And I think this whole thing is like a chain, and there are many others, probably young kids like I was, that are looking up to us and following their dreams. And one thing I always say is that no one gets anywhere without someone else's help. And I sure had my dose of help from a lot of people in Costa Rica and the United States, beginning with my mother. Mamá, muchas gracias por venir con ayudarme. Ahora sí. My mother. And many other members of my family. I have brothers. I have one of my daughters here. I have my wife, Peggy, who's been behind me all this time, difficult times of danger of going into space so many times. Thank you, Peggy, for being by my side. And but I'm actually today most thankful to this great nation that in 1968 opened the doors for me, a dreamer that came to the shores of this country, and this country opened the doors to the land of opportunity, to the American dream. And I can say that I fulfilled that dream. And the dream is alive here in this country. It's a great country. It's the best country on this planet. Perhaps we have to look at it from the outside to appreciate the beauty that we have in these 50 states, the goals, the aspirations, and the difficulties that we face. But the future is bright, and we've got, the table served. We need to keep it and protect it. And I think for these young scholars that are looking to the future is great. The future is absolutely great. And this country will be the leader. And I am very proud to be part of that team. So thank you so much for this honor.
Congratulations, Dr. Franklin Chang Díaz, and welcome to the United States Astronaut Hall of Fame.